Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Truemark and I am the Halo Enthusiast. Okay, so welcome back everyone, and I just want to talk about the overtime update. Now I know that I've left it probably a little bit too, later than other YouTubers. I know other people have got stuff out where they've just talked about the changes and how it's worked, and I'm interested more specifically on the weapon tuning, because I think that is probably the most important. I know we got oddball and a bunch of other stuff, but the weapon tuning actually affects how the entire game plays. Now, I'm very excited actually for this update. I was really happy that Halo's being worked on, and they're still giving it some TLC even into this late in its life. But it's still one of the most fun games to play. It's just fantastic, and I really love it. And I really like some of the changes that they've made. Well, I would go to say that I've actually liked all of the changes that they've made. I know that people aren't really liking the tuned BR so much, and people that have played it for a real long time having trouble adjusting, and I totally get that. I completely understand. But I agree that the weapons needed to be changed so that they fitted their roles more, so they fitted them in a much more solid way, because I think that the weapons were too versatile, they were too easy to use, and I would say that actually, some of them would be on par with power weapons, which I think is ridiculous and should never. Loadout guns need to be capable, but not as good as power weapons, because then there'd be no point in picking up power weapons or going for those things, but I just want to say, there is a big problem with this update, which I think is causing a barrier to a lot of players. So I just want to say, I made being part of the update and the weapon tuning process a priority to make sure that my feedback was heard and that the game went in the direction that would provide the most fun experience, not just for me but for everyone. So I wanted to say that I really do enjoy this update, but there is one thing that needs a change, and I think a lot of people at this point are probably thinking the same thing. The problem, if you didn't already know, is that the Magnum has now become what the BR was pre-update. So it's basically all things at all ranges. It might not be that good enough to tackle really long distance, say with versus the DMR, but its inclusion on the map is on any game mode it makes it totally the go-to weapon. And when I was leaving feedback on the weapon tuning test, and I called it out then, and I'm going to call it out now. And I realised that when I played the test and I picked up the flag, I basically became unstoppable against BR users because I was using the Flagnum, and it's I thought, wow, if they put the Magnum into the normal game now with the tweaked BR, it's gonna be really just everyone's just gonna use the Magnum, because there'll be no point in using the BR, and I think that is pretty much what's happening now. So it's not. I think the Magnum isn't. It's just overperforming itself now, and it's intended how it was intended to originally fit into the game. So I mean, if you wanted to rank it rec-wise, I would say it's probably like a 4 or 5. The reason why I say 4 or 5 is because you can get a Halo 2 BR at rec level 4, and you can get a BR with a stabilization jet things, which make the weapon much more easier to use, and so I would say that they're on par with those. So we have that problem now. So the way I see that, is we have 5 different choices. So the 5 choices that we've got is the game reverts back to its pre-update settings. And this is something that I really don't want to do, because I think the BR changes and the AR changes are really great. And the Gunfighter Magnum, the Gunfighter Magnum's brilliant. It's everything that I wanted in the update. It's I specifically said that the power was too low. It needed that boost in power. Before the update, it performed very much like like a weak pistol. It wasn't really, it wasn't really good for much at all, because it would be only effective at the ranges that you would use all the other precision weapons. Now it's got that niche where it's close range and it's really good. So I used it in firefight, and I just killed loads and loads of grunts with it, and even the elites, when you chip away at their shield and then you jump on them with a gunfighter, they got no chance. And that's what it needs to be. The only way I can describe it is when I played Destiny in the first year, we got this gun called Vestian Dynasty, and it was a beast. It was a beast of a sidearm, and the Gunfighter Magnum now feels very much like that gun, and I love it. It's so good. I think people haven't given it a proper chance, the people that aren't really liking it, but honestly, use it as a secondary backup, go against somebody close range and gun them down, and it works fantastic. So I'm really happy with that. DMR I think is a good change, because you don't want a DMR to be really good at close range. I mean, that's just ridiculous. It's meant to be a long range weapon. I'm happy with that. And I'm also happy that they nerfed the Banshee roll, because it was just so easy to exploit. And I'm so glad it's happened. Rockets become useful again. Anyway, so what I'm saying is the first part of that is the game reverts back to its pre-update settings, which obviously I don't want to happen. And so the other option is the Magnum is nerfed in some respects. Now I'm not necessarily think this is a very good idea, because the Magnum in itself, lots of people said it's a perfect weapon. It's they balanced it right and everything like that, and that's true in its previous sandbox state. But now with the current sandbox, where they've made all the other guns come into line, the Magnum is just clearly too powerful, too easy to use in too many situations. So either the option there is to nerf it, or just take it out of play somehow. And I've got an idea of how we think that should happen. And I don't know whether it's not going to be tweaked, because it's such a big part of Halo Championship Series. I mean, all the pros have been learning how the Magnum works and everything, and it's one of their guns that they use all the time. But I don't know. I'm not a pro, so I don't know if that's something that the developers don't want to change because of the pro scene. But anyway, so the next part that we could do is we could replace the regular Magnum with the Gunfighter Magnum in ranked playlists. So I'm not talking BR starts and Magnum starts, I'm talking AR starts and a Magnum start. And the reason why I think this is because you don't want to spawn, in my opinion, in any Halo game, you don't want to spawn with a precision weapon, because precision weapons are the most sought after guns in the game. Getting close range is risky, whereas when you get a precision weapon, the risk of your death goes down, because you're able to keep the enemies away from you. So being able to spawn with a precision weapon, I think, is not right. I personally think that you should spawn with weapons that are relatively close range, combat to mid range, and you need to push around the map, or in Warzone's case to wreck up, to be able to get those precision weapons, to be able to fight more effectively. That's always what Halo's been, rewards you for going for those better guns, for fighting for map control and all that kind of stuff. So spawning with the Magnum as a default is just too powerful. It's too, why would you use any other gun? You would just use the Magnum all the time, especially if you had a team and you were team shotting, you knew what you were doing. So that is what I'm saying, is that if you replace the regular Magnum with the Gunfighter Magnum is absolutely destroys in close range, but it can't pull off those long range shots that you would get on the normal pistol. That you should be rewarded for picking that up on the map. And so if you took that away, then there's hardly any Magnums on any of the maps. So you would have a Gunfighter as a standard, an AR as a standard, and then you would choose what you would get rid of to take a precision weapon like the Carbine or the DMR or the BR, and those guns would then fit properly in the sandbox changes that they've made. So I think that would be a good way to go. I mean, a lot of people say, start with BRs and pistols. I personally think starting with a BR would not be a good thing. I don't think that would be a good thing, because it gives you a precision weapon straight off the bat. And I know that we've been having Magnums straight off the bat for a real long time, but the problem with that is that the sandbox before was so deadly, it didn't really matter. There was the BR was a slight step up from the Magnum, and the fact that it could kill you much quicker with the 4-shot burst, and the Carbine was like a super accurate laser, so therefore it didn't pose as a massive problem as it does now. So that would be my analysis there. So obviously the other option that I've just talked about is BR starts, but as I've said, I don't think it's a good idea, and I don't think this would fix Warzone, because, you know, when you start in Warzone, you start with the regular Magnum, and the problem with that is they've ranked it now as a level 1 rec, and the Magnum should not be a level 1 rec. That gun is far too good to be a level 1. And like, you know, I would argue before that the Gunfighter Magnum wasn't worth using at all. I wouldn't even have classed it as a level 1 rec, whereas now I would say that it's on par with the AR, maybe slightly better than the AR, and the AR is a level 1 rec, so I think the Gunfighter Magnum should be a level 1 rec. So when you start at the beginning of a Warzone game, it is with the AR and the Gunfighter Magnum. So and that, you know, would it give you the incentive to be able to play higher to get the regular Magnum, you know, if they made that a level higher rec. Now obviously the problem with that is that the Gunfighter Magnum is an ultra rare card and not everyone's going to have it unlocked. So to sort that out, 343 are going to have to maybe give that to players so that they can start in a Warzone scenario that I think personally makes more sense. I think it would be a goodwill thing. They might get some happy people, but ultimately, you know, I can understand that they wouldn't want to do that because it messes with the whole rec system where they, you know, they're giving stuff away for free. It's probably not a good idea. But the thing is, though, is, you know, I think that that's what could happen to improve the gameplay and make it a lot better, because then it would balance it a bit more if the Magnums were a little bit higher, you know, if they were on par with maybe the Halo 2 BR or the level 5 rec BRs, because when you unlock those BRs, you've got more options and more choices. You may not choose the pistol, or you may not, you know, or the pistol's going to perform as the same as those. So, you know, and I know people talk about Warzone, they say, oh, you know, Warzone's not meant to be balanced anyway, but I disagree. I mean, okay, you know, Warzone is not balanced, where you've got loads of somebody with high recs and great skill and they're able to whatever, but what I'm trying to say is that, you know, the whole idea of the meta of how you rank up and how you get all those guns and everything like that has to have some kind of balance. Otherwise, you know, why not is it, you know, you just play Warzone and it would be Super Fiesta? I mean, that would just be ridiculous, right? I mean, you know, there has to be some kind of balance in Warzone that is not ridiculous, you know. So I would, you know, and that's what I would say to those people. But whether they'd come back at me and say something to blow me out of the water, I don't know. But that's my opinion. So that is what I want to say with this update. I think it's really good update. I think it's almost perfect. They just need to change those one or two things, and I know it's hard for people to get used to nerfed weapons, but I honestly believe that those nerfed weapons are how Halo is meant to play, how it should play, you know. I mean, I've been playing some previous Halos recently, particularly some ODST and Halo 4, and it occurs to me how well some of those weapons are balanced in those games, and how Halo 5 is, the time to kill is just through the, you know, it's just really, really low, and how the sandbox, how the loadout sandbox doesn't work because of it, and how the power weapons, you know, because to trump, you know, super awesome loadouts, you need even more awesome power weapons, and then it just becomes like, oh, I see you and you're dead. You know, it's not fun. It's not how Halo is meant to be. And I think what they're doing here is really great to get it back to the classic and core Halo experience that everybody wants and everybody has been calling out for. And then when they do an update like this, and it's disheartening to see people just be like, oh, you know, I don't like it because I can't kill with my BR that I love and all the rest of it. And although I understand that change, I also think that, you know, this is a step towards classic core Halo gameplay, and we need to support that, and we need to get on board. And I think that they just need to make a few minor more changes to it to be able to get it at the state that we want it to be, so that Halo 6 can be fantastic and brilliant. Then, and you know, so that's just my ideas and that's just my opinions. I'd like to know what everyone else thinks. So if you like this video or dislike this video, just leave some comments at the bottom what you think would be best in terms of the update. Then we can steer it in a better direction, so we can get to where we want to be. But anyway, that's enough of me rambling. So thank you very much for stopping by my channel. Subscribe if you've not already subscribed. And I just want to say thank you for people sticking with me, and I'll see you next time. So just remember, take it easy, be good to each other, and play Halo. This is the Halo Enthusiast signing off and wishing you well in all things Halo.